Welcome to RedditScape, where we dive into the most intriguing and hilarious stories from the depths of Reddit. Sit back, relax, and let's explore the wild world of the internet together. So, a few people may have saw me post about it previously, but for those that don't read our drugs every day like an obsessed maniac, like me, I basically posted a thread asking for help after I managed to spill water all over 25 acid tabs I had just bought, and I was fucking distraught. What was I to do? How can I save my LSD? Did I just waste a shitton of money on a drug that I basically live for, dream about, and obsess with? I fucking hope not. Anyway, my natural train of thought lead me to asking our drugs for help, which is where the aforementioned came from. I had previously read about chlorine in water-destroying LSD, and I figured if my LSD ain't fucked, it's surely going to degrade some. Mainly, the advice from the thread was eat it. At first, I was kind of hesitant, that's like 25 tabs of acid, and the most I had ate before was 2 of those very same tabs. My experience with 2 of those tabs was talking to my wall, asking it to show me the words that looked like they were in another dimension. Yeah, basically, shit was pretty trippy, but the bliss and euphoria from the experience was fucking amazing. I mean, I haven't done that much acid before, twice previously, so this was my 3rd time, but the first time was not even acid, en beau probably. However, I think that acid that makes me feel like that probably isn't all that common. So, you'd think, going from 2 to fucking 25 might do something? Yeah, it kind of did. Basically, I put 25 of those little suckers in my mouth. I basically consumed them all when they were still attached as a sheet, all soggy and shit, and swallowed it all whole. Now, from this point on, I have no idea how much time passed, how long it took to kick in, how long it lasted, or when I even took them. I didn't black out or anything, I just had no semblance of time. So I'll go ahead and describe experiences that occurred and how I felt. I had intense euphoria, more than I've ever felt. When I was on 2 tabs, I had these kind twitches, but it was amazingly pleasurable. Like an orgasm, I don't know. But yeah, this was amplified greatly. This, I think, was on the come-up. I actually kind of remember the time of this bit because this was before the peak blew my brain up. The world was fractals, language didn't make sense, it was just shapes and colors, and it was all so pretty. After a short while of this, feeling like I was in the light of some god, I think I experienced what most people call ego death, but I don't know, because it is an experience that cannot be described by words. But basically, I lost all sense of being. I was nothing, and there was no I. It felt like everything had died, just shrunk, and became nothing. I figure this would have been terrifying were the euphoria not still there. There wasn't so much terror as there was awe at this experience. I couldn't hold my mouth agape in awe because I wasn't attached to my body anymore, because there was no body, it was just felt. I stayed inside during this entire experience, and I'm sure as fuck glad I did, given I lost pretty much all body functions, comprehension of language, and I have no idea what would have happened if this was in an environment where I wasn't comfortable. As I said, for the most part, I lost semblance of being where I was, but there was a great comfort in the feeling of being home and being in a safe place. However, even though I've been painting this all in a very bright light, with everything being positive about it, I think this was probably rare. I've heard of a lot of people that blow off psychedelics and pretend that they know them, that they understand them, and control them. But that's never true. What I experienced was a mind-blowing and life-changing experience, where I even questioned the existence of a God, where I was previously very firmly atheist. I've tried my best to put my experience into words, but what I experienced cannot be captured by language, and I know that sounds like hippie pretentious bullshit, but that's just the way things are. Yeah. If anyone has any questions regarding the experience, I'll try my best to answer. Again, though, apologies for the scatterbrained post. To start, it was a boring Saturday, with not much to do. It was my first month of college and away from my parents, so I was free to do what I wanted. It was around 11 a.m. when I decided I wanted to trip. I wasn't planning on taking 990 micrograms of LSD. I was planning on only taking around 200. I have tripped around 70 times, so I am pretty experienced with good old Lucy, so I thought I could handle anything. The most I took before this was around 400, and that experience was nowhere close to 990. I sit in my room with some buddies I just met who were also looking to trip. One of the guys dared me to take a whole strip. I didn't think about it much, and I placed the whole strip on my tongue. I thought with all my experience I could handle such a dose, so I said, fuck it. This report is only what I could describe, which only feels like around 10% of the trip. Feelings and things I saw experience that I couldn't describe, I just didn't even try to type. I started feeling it within 10 minutes, and by 30 minutes it was already comparable to my 400 trip. I knew I was in for a long ride. An hour into the trip, the visuals are becoming super strong. The CEVs were not like anything I have ever experienced. I closed my eyes and saw extremely detailed places that I have never seen before. It was like my mind made up these vast landscapes with glimmering skies and beams of rainbows shooting everywhere. A few hours in, I was peaking. It was hard to tell if my eyes were even closed or opened. I was being encompassed by visuals, and time is starting to get extremely warped. What feels like an hour is actually only 10 minutes. At this point, I wanted it to stop. I started panicking, and there was nowhere I could go to escape from it. I was so fucked out of my mind that I thought if I stood up and went to another room, it would all go away. I soon found this not to be the case and realized there's absolutely nothing I could do except accept it. Trust me, it is not easy to just accept this experience. It literally feels like you are dying and you are experiencing the afterlife. Accepting this experience would be like putting a gun up to your head and pulling the trigger. This was by far the strongest feeling of fear I have ever felt in my life. I don't think I could ever be that scared ever again, besides the fear I will feel seconds before my death. Once I came to terms with what was going on, I sat back and let all emotions leave me. I calmed my breathing and allowed to the drug to work its magic. At this point, all memory was lost. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was. And I didn't know why I was even alive experiencing this moment and instead just be nothing in nothingness. I felt like I was the source of creation. Everything is all and connected. Time exists in this one spot. There is no present, no future, no past. The barrier that was blocking me from the larger consciousness broke down, and I felt like I no longer existed. The human language cannot put this experience into words. Just as it's not possible to explain exactly what an intense trip is to someone who has never tripped. It got to a point to where I was so lost with reality that I was convinced I have been in this state for eternity, and it would be like this forever. I put on some music, and my brain seemed to focus in on each separate sound layer at once in incredible detail, and with no other layer being lost to the focus. I could see the sound from the speakers and watch the waves bounce to the bass and flow with the synths. I could see the sound traveling to my ear, and once it reached them, I could feel the music throughout my body. The sensation of warmth feeling as if my mind is being broken open. This peak lasted what felt like eternity, but was around 8 hours real time. The come down was the most beautiful part of this experience. I was slowly regaining memory, and I could finally understand what I was actually doing. Around 20 hours in, I started to land back to reality, but it felt like waves of ego death was hitting me. For 10 minutes, I would start to remember reality, and for 10 minutes it would all go away, and I would experience ego death again. Al-Lad is an LSD analog, where the methyl group at 6th position has been replaced by allyl group. Effects-wise, it's said to be a lighter version of LSD. I used 150 UG, which is a moderate dose. I took the blotter sublingually on empty stomach. First effects were noticeable after 30 min. It took almost an hour to come up. Peak lasted 4 hours and offset about 3 hours. The stimulation it produces was weaker than that of LSD, but still strong. Unlike with LSD, the stimulation wasn't jittery, pushy, or uncomfortable. I was worried that it would be as anxiety-inducing as LSD, but it caused almost no anxiety, which was a pleasant surprise. It also didn't cause any nausea. Unlike LSD, it felt somewhat social and gave me energy to engage in activities with my girlfriend. It also made me feel closer to her. We have been making cannabis cookies, which was quite enjoyable. I was able to relax and knead the dough without my usual intrusive thoughts. It gave me a nice mood boost, and sometimes a bit of euphoria thanks to me being able to appreciate the moment much more. Music sounded a little nicer, and everything was a little funnier and more lightheaded. Unlike with LSD, there wasn't much introspection, and the headspace was a lot more shallow. It had nice and relatively strong, warm, fuzzy body feel, which felt like more simplistic and comfortable version of LSD. The body feel was relatively constant. Very notable was increase in sensitivity to touch, making touching clothes pleasurable and kneading dough strange. Thanks to its stimulating nature, my whole body felt lighter, and moving around took very little effort. It was less visual than I anticipated. There were very little trippy visuals, but instead it acted as wonderful aesthetic enhancer. Everything looked crisper, colors were deeper and more vibrant, lights and shadows more distinct. It felt as if someone put a pretty good shader pack over everything. Slight melting of surfaces and mild patterns did occur at some points, and were very similar to LSD. The offset was smooth and comfortable. So the conclusion? I very much enjoyed this drug, but if you'll be able to try it again, you'll go for a higher dose. I would definitely recommend everyone to try this, especially if you're new to psychedelics.